It's Wednesday. It's March 6th, 2024. I'm in this. The monetary system is the United States of America with the Federal Reserve note. George Washington is on the front. The ONE is on the back. Jackson is on the front. And the White House is on the back. Um, I was watching several outlets or inlets, listening to multiple conversations, trying to discern and decipher and just pay attention with what my human experience has been, um, and with concerns for my children in the future and how things are changing, some more rapidly than others. Um, but strength and confidence in whatever. I put up a series of messages this morning on like Tile from, snapshots, just so in like robotic artificial intelligence engines that are working at some level within the United States of America that are piping through. This morning it happened to see the BS. Sometimes it's Facebook. I take snapshots of them, not to steal the work of others. It's not my intent, but things that really impact me, almost like the biblical things. Um, Now I don't even know if that's the correct word. So there's just so much stimulus coming in, and where to focus one's attention. Um, so I watched See the BS this morning. I watched the Colbert Report. He's the, um, again, Bill Maher, they say, is satirical. I don't know what they call the late, late show host in TV terminology in America. Um, I don't have any proper training on this, um, so he's the late late show gentleman, um, and he had up some interesting things. I then was listening to OAR, um, which is a band, a music that I found at some point. I can't remember how I got. That's one of those I like recall issues. I'm having trouble with how I found OAR. But the CD somehow arrived in my car. Things like that happen again, like unannounced gifts. Like just like in college, like I was a teenager in New York. I went to sleep one night. There was like this dream that I had about like some photo shoot on a beach. I had no idea how, like, I just, where is this? And then in the mail in New York, right before I went to my college dorm, there was a J. Crew poster with this guy on it. And I'm like, I don't know how that happened. Unexplained phenomenon, but again, who am I to question such things? In Master Mechanics of the Machine, um, and like I've known since I was little that there are objects outside of my purview that exist at the same time. So there are things that exist out of space and time, of my linear format. I mean, again, I think they say those are quantum strings. Again, I don't want to give the wrong scientist the kudos, but um, anyhow, so OAR is this CD that just arrived in my car one day. Um, and I listened to it, and it hit a chord that made sense. Didn't know why. Then somebody pointed out to me that it is they asked, what does OAR stand for? I had no idea how to look that up. And it says something of American Revolution. Didn't even know that was a thing. Um, so there's a song on it called I Go Through. So I read that. I actually have a broken leg at the moment. So it just seems like some go over, some go under, some go through, whatever that means. The American fiction has it pumping through the stereo, and now the Alexa. It's something in existence here that somebody thought to put into lyrical rhyme. So I assume it's important. I went and I met on Zoom with the local congregation of Zion, and they read a passage of um, Mark, I think, Corinthians and then Mark. And it speaks of Herodias and Harold. Um, and I said whatever I said on the call. But to recap just my own words, like if there's a Harold or a Herod somewhere in the system, which I know there is in the universe and the galaxy somewhere, um, if I was the Herodess for whatever theological purpose that he serves at that level, and wanting to serve proudly, to represent as best that I can, even though my appearance is not. I mean, again, how do you update your Herod, um, to know that, like, if something, if I was dishonored in any way, he would take that personally as dishonorment amongst himself or his own kind. Um, and I've had such a severe stumbling block. And is that significant in national terms or nationality terms? Um, and is that something that needs to be known to him so he can protect himself, myself, and whatever system from degrading or deterring, and self-preservation at the ONE. In God we trust, within the trust of God, of the God. Um, so in this like superfluous attempt, it seems like the message just really needs to be known that the papers that are on file, like the what added up to those papers going on file, um, and then in a broader context, because I think of the television, um, and on the set of monetary papers, the Herod, um, is very pronounced. And so, but in the day to day, when I go out into the field to look for work, or even social outings with my son, even going to public school for my son, um, there are visitors to these lands, um, that that's where does, if I need to have a clean message about what has happened to my person, to my North American version of Herod, um, how does that message get through for protection, for my children's protection, and so on and so forth? Um, since at the moment there seems to be children that feel like they have Herods elsewhere outside of the 48 states or outside of the 50. So those visiting children, they have a herald's, if and only if they have a herald somewhere else, to keep the competition between where we are land wise and the outside possibility, because there's only one influence, in God we trust, and then there's this confluence, and it just, in like I even said, it feels like somewhere between a complex and a perplex, listening to that version of Mark in this one conversation, because there's so many different levels. It depends. Is it a clean conversation between Harold and Herodotus directly, in spiritual, physiological, like philosophical, mystical way of communicating? Is that a pure one-on-one, like, here's what happened, here's what I understand to have happened, I don't know what the extenuating circumstances are that are going on around my person at any and all times since I've been here in New York since 1978. I have not been taught about heredity or inheritance, or the social order and social structure has not been that concrete or protective since my arrival in 1978. I don't know what those confluence has been. Um, Knowing that I arrived in the correct area for heraldry and for influence, I just don't know. When I look on the television and I hear on the radio, and then I look in the field and I see there's now, like, it used to be just English influence for our heraldry. Now there's confluence of other scripts, other languages, and it almost seems, if I reflect upon it, like there's other heraldies here and trying to motivate and make movements. And I'm pretty sure that's against the law. I just don't know how to get that to the correct heraldry, since I've not been given any real concrete answers, just some clues in the field. Um, so that's where I'm at, inside New York, inside the United States of America. And like on Colbert, he says, like, not rooting necessarily for Donald Trump or for Biden is like going to a football game and just wearing NFL on the hat. That's pretty much where I'm at the moment, at ONEE. Um, because again, if there's a GOD, an ONE, and a TWO, and then somewhere else in another sub bracket, there's an ELF and an ELEVEN. Um, like, I don't know which players are which, but when I look at Trump, he looks like a really lovely shade of iodine. And I know that I don't, again, don't know if it's cover up, makeup, I don't know what, but on the elemental scale, it looks like a Roman numeral 1. And then if I look at, like, why was he the 45th president? And I mean, like, because he's wearing a fireball, like, I don't know, atomic number 53, and you know, it looks like iodine, but I That's interesting. And again, that's a family value. I understand somebody values him at family. I just don't know the extenuating circumstances around his lovely shade of iodine. Um, so that's important because, again, I don't want to be inflammatory or defamatory, but I'm trying to walk this very neutral line of respecting the man at executive function, chief and commander spot, um, being a daughter of the area, being not only New York, but inside the 48 states of the United States of America, which sometimes has a 50, but again, that might be shipping and containment issues. I don't know for sure, but it just makes sense logically. Um, so anyhow, so we have this really interesting conversation where I heard their perspective on it and how they speak of it. And then, of course, I have my own um, situational things to keep an eye on, especially with planning comes into. And then I even wrote to Dear God, Dear in God We Trust this morning about this ability to meet with someone in your dreams, like when you fall asleep. Like, who will catch me when I fall asleep? Like, in his arms, that kind of thing. And I had, since I was little, this person, or that there was somewhere in time and space where we were able to meet, not in this physical realm, but in some in between. And I remember as a child and even as a teenager and young adult, um, and even like when Alexander arrived, having that as a meeting spot. Um, but then there's this physical reality that I wake up to every day, and even body permanence. Like at a very young age, asking Judy to watch over my body to let me know in case I made it to the spot in space where he would be. Um, that was like my mission and my goal every day, was to make it to a dream world where him and I could meet together to fix our future and to update ourselves. Um, and then that stopped. Um, but he never manifested in this side, within this system of physical reality. So I don't know what that's about. And then there was that weird aerial phenomenon that happened around 2015, 2016, where the unexplained happened, but it happened. There was a drive in a car. I didn't know what kind of car it is. Now it would make sense if it was a Maserati, but I didn't even know because I've never been in a Maserati before. I know what was playing on the radio, and that was around like that Hamptons event, not the one with the Walt Whitman crew, because Walt Whitman crew on Long Island was one event with in the Hamptons, but then there was this other Glen involved Hamptons elsewhere, um, in an unexplained aerial phenomenon, and then almost like the whole machine reset, and my physicality was back in the same house, but with a different crew of humans. The the Taurus level. Like I was there with the Maserati level, And then all of a sudden, I was taken back to the same house with the Taurus 1975 level humans, which just seems to be like a continuation of the 1976 Taurus level humans for this area in Long Island. Um, but knowing that some agreement was trying to get me back in touch with the Maserati level that I longed for, which I greatly appreciated. But then that never happened. It never manifested yet again. Um, but it's because it's all these strangers that I don't know that are involved in whatever they're involved in their real worlds and real lives. Um, and like, how are people connected, and how is like the whatever and whatever. But somewhere between, I'm stuck in this area where it could become a problem with multiple levels of confluence fighting for the influence of heraldry or to usurp control of heraldry, which I certainly feel like I've been at the losing end of that conversation for a while, and I don't know how to get to the proper coat, the proper arm, like to hold the proper arm and walk respectfully and not in this pageantry or get up or whatever this is. So it's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxies, broken, and its Bayside station, Bayside, New York, 11361.